Okay, here's a quick and simple how to install this cheek pad onto your Barrett. For starters, the one that's currently installed is going to be just slightly different than the one you receive. That's because this one's actually a prototype. You can see the distance here has been shortened. The reason being, if it's disassembled in your safe, I've had problems with this resting on the bottom of the safe and it's starting to kind of push the fabric a little bit, and I just didn't like that. So what I've done is shortened it. So yours is actually going to sit just before this one. The easiest way to get this thing lined up, and you want to make sure, I cannot stress enough, make sure and test fit this thing first, because once it's stuck on, it does not move. It is removable if you need it to be eventually. It's kind of a pain in the ass though. So lots of acetone or alcohol wipes or something to get all the residue off, and it's a bunch of elbow grease. I've done it a number of times testing these, and it's not enjoyable. So that being said, here's how I recommend you line it up. Is when you've test fit it, you've got these notches in the bottom and the top side. Those are going to be center line marks just to help you make sure it's lined up perfectly. The best reference to make sure it's lined up properly is around the sling stud here. So go ahead and you want to set it in place, front and center. It's going to be just a little bit larger gap in the rear than the front, but not a whole lot. They're almost the same. It's going to sit about a 1/4 inch or so from the rear of the receiver, maybe 3/8. So go ahead and test fit it. You can try folding this around, just make sure it lines up perfectly around the sling, like I said. And then once you've got it where it needs to be, one little trick is just go ahead and stick a piece of masking tape on. That's going to let you have a reference so that when you come back without the adhesive, you know exactly where it needs to go. If you want to get crazy, you can even take a Sharpie or something and just make a little mark right here so that you know that index mark needs to match that mark. That's really all there is to getting it lined up. The next step, of course, can be remove the adhesive on the back along with all these thin strips. These are just relief cuts to help it fold around the edge of the receiver without bunching up. Otherwise, it starts to pull up at the sides, and you don't want that. Go ahead and remove the adhesive and start by sticking the rear end, just kind of hold it at an angle so that it's not touching the receiver. Go ahead and set down the rear, make sure that it's lined up with that tape you put along with the index mark, and make sure it looks dead center. Once it is, I just kind of lay it down, and as I do, make sure that front notch is dead center on the rear sight here. And then once you've done that, just kind of run your fingers down the middle. Now it's going to be stuck in place. From there, you can just kind of gently roll it around the sides of the receiver. I like to use the heel of my thumb here and just kind of go like that and just wrap it around until it's all stuck in place. Go around it, and that's all there is to it. Super quick and easy. But I cannot stress enough, you've got to test fit this thing first, because like I said, once you stick it in place, it's done. You're not moving it. So that is it. I hope you enjoy. If you have any issues with it, feel free to reach out. Shoot me an email at peter@goodwoodpnw.com. If something happens to it, it gets torn somehow or anything, let me know and I'll send you a replacement right away. So I really appreciate the support and glad you enjoy the product. Thank you.